There were and still are so many people who said that we will not see any cruising in 2021. I'm happy to report that just here in the UK we've got 13 cruise lines who are planning on sailing before summer, and other cruises starting all the way around the world, in Europe, in the Caribbean, you name it, cruises are starting. The majority of cruise lines do require all of their guests to be fully vaccinated at least a week or two before the cruise, but there are a few cruise lines that don't have that requirement. This did get me thinking, what makes these cruise lines different from the other cruise lines, and is this a risky approach? I have come to a decision and I have put my own money behind this decision too. Here in the UK we're still in a really strict lockdown. The restaurants are closed, the bars are closed. I stay at home, I work from home, and I get my food delivered once per week. I don't really go out that much because I don't need to. Like everybody, I miss travelling, I miss cruising, I miss my friends, I miss my family, and it was a few months ago that the UK started to talk about British Isles cruises. I was talking about this months ago. I actually did book a British Isles cruise for this summer, which has now been cancelled, because I thought when we restart sailing, we will do that around the British Isles, and I was not wrong on that one. My logic was solid, but my cruise was still cancelled. At the time when people started talking about British Isles cruises, there were a few problems that stood in our way. The first one being the coronavirus numbers, which really weren't great, and the second being the UK government saying that we could not cruise. The UK government has now said that we can cruise from May 17th, so there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and fingers crossed everything goes to plan. While all of this was happening, there have been cruises happening. I think it's very easy for us here in the UK, the US, Australia, to forget that other places are cruising, but there have been loads of cruises happening in Europe, multiple cruise lines, since last July. Other people have been enjoying cruises for the second half of last year, and now they are too. This cruise shutdown has caused a lot of stress, a lot of worries for a lot of people. Not just us who want to take cruises, we're really the least of the problems. But if you think about all of the crew that are supported by the cruise industry, all of the ports that rely on that tourism, everybody is just waiting for cruising to restart. If you take a cruise line like Royal Caribbean, they've been burning through $250 million per month. $250 million per month, just cash burnt. So when the UK came out and they said that the UK can cruise from the 17th of May, that's fantastic, that's brilliant. But then the cruise lines have got to work out how they can get their ships into the right places. What ships are they going to put where? Who are they going to allow on board? What are their vaccination rules going to be? How are they going to get the crew? Where are they going to get all of the food and provisions that they need for these ships? It is a massive undertaking for the cruise lines. Another question that's got to be on the mind of cruise lines and everybody really is the demand there? Almost every cruise line has put one or two ships here in the UK for the summer season, and they don't know when they decided to do that what the demand would be like. I have to say, so far it's been incredible. The demand is way outstripping supply. Viking Cruises went on sale and they sold out with their past guests before they even went on public sale so that everybody else could look at them. That's how much demand there is for cruising here in the UK. P&O announced their cruises, their website crashed, everything went down. People really want to get back on these cruises. One of the first cruise lines to say that they would do British Isles cruises was P&O Cruises. P&O Cruises are our biggest cruise line here in Britain. They have our Union Jack on the front. You'll find afternoon tea, UK plug sockets. They are a British cruise line through and through, so it was no surprise when they announced that they would do British Isles sailings. What was a surprise though was that P&O said that you could not go on these cruises if you didn't have a vaccine. That's it, you're not vaccinated, you cannot go on these cruises. What that means, P&O didn't really say it, but what it means is that no children can go on any of the P&O cruises throughout the summer where vaccines are required. Children cannot get their vaccines, so they cannot go on these cruises. When this news came out, there was uproar about this. P&O are very much a family cruise line here in the UK, so there were loads of families looking forward to going on a P&O cruise for summer who now can't. Other cruise lines have come out since and they've said the same thing. Princess are doing the same as P&O, and then Royal Caribbean and Celebrity have done something that I think is interesting. What they have said is if you're an adult, you must be vaccinated, but if you're a child, you can have a negative coronavirus test instead of your vaccine. I think that's a good middle ground, and I do wonder if Princess and P&O are kind of looking at Royal Caribbean and thinking, That's actually quite a good idea. These measures are just in place short term, so it might just be a couple of months that children can't cruise with Princess or P&O, and then who knows what will happen. But at the moment, P&O have said this is for their summer season, and the rest of their cruises, no vaccination requirements. Whether they will push that forward as more of the UK gets vaccinated, I don't know, but only time will tell. Despite the fact that I personally won't be vaccinated for a while due to my age, I do think that it is a good idea. I definitely think it's a good idea. But maybe they could still let children on. That wouldn't make it a bad idea. Most of the cruises that have been announced are cruises that go to a couple of British Isles ports, and I have booked one, I'll tell you in a second. But the thing that you've got to bear in mind is when you take a British Isles cruise, even if you take it during a heat wave, you need to pack a coat, you need to pack an umbrella, because it could be tipping it down every single day. And your Britishism of the week this week is tipping it down. Another one that I didn't realise that other people don't say, but when it's really raining here, we say it's tipping it down outside. Bring your umbrella, take your coat outside. It is tipping it down, it is pouring down, raining cats and dogs, you name it, a bit of drizzle. We have a lot of words for rain here in the UK because it does rain. It does rain quite a lot. Some cruise lines are requiring vaccines, and they can do that. If they don't want to let unvaccinated people on their cruise ships, they don't have to. But where does that leave people like me? I'm not going to be vaccinated for quite a long time due to my age. I'm guessing I will be fully vaccinated by around September or October time, and that leaves me with two cruise line options. The first option was Viking Cruises. Viking Cruises are not requiring vaccines on their ships because they have incredible laboratories basically on their cruise ships where they're able to test everybody every single day for coronavirus. So basically Viking can cruise without vaccines because they have this incredible technology. The second cruise line that I can cruise with, I can't cruise with Viking because they sold out, but the second one is MSC Cruises. MSC Cruises have been sailing in Europe since last July, so they have tested their coronavirus procedures over and over and over again. They've had 50,000 passengers on board since last July, and it has worked incredibly well. I am so confident that MSC know what they're doing by now. They've really got a head start on all of the other cruise lines. They have been doing it for a long time, and they've been doing it through a mixture of mask wearing, social distancing, and no self-serve buffets. When you go to the buffet on an MSC cruise, the tongs will basically just be facing the crew, and you will ask, "Hello, can I have 4 cookies please?" And they will give you 4 cookies and you will take it away. You're not taking your own food, but you can still make those weird buffet combinations. You can still have noodles and a Yorkshire pudding and bread on the same plate. No one's going to judge you. You just have to ask somebody else to give you the food. They're removing anything that's self-service anywhere they can. They're using technology. You can look at menus on your phone. You can use your phone for everything on an MSC cruise, and it has worked very well for them. Children on board, anybody on board, a cheap, fun family cruise, easy peasy. MSC are also doing double testing for anybody who hasn't got their vaccine. So if you are vaccinated, you just need to do a coronavirus test at the cruise port. But if you're not vaccinated, you need to do a coronavirus test within 3 days of your cruise and then another one at the cruise port. That's just to make sure that you haven't just got coronavirus, just got over coronavirus. It's just another layer of protection. 2 tests is better than 1. That leaves me with a decision though, because if I want to cruise, I have to decide, do I think that these measures in place on MSC Cruises are enough? And I have to say yes. I absolutely have to say yes. I am so much more confident in the fact that MSC can keep me safe on a cruise than if I go to a bar or a restaurant on land. If I go out to a shop on land, I have no idea if anybody has had a negative coronavirus test in that shop. If I go on a cruise and I go to the restaurant, I know everybody is either vaccinated and had a test or had 2 coronavirus tests within the last few days. I wish we had that level of control just generally. I wish I could guarantee that everybody else had negative coronavirus tests, but you can't do that. I genuinely feel safer to spend my time on an MSC cruise ship than out in the general world with the general public who don't follow the rules. On a cruise ship, you have to follow the rules. It's definitely worth noting too, though, that even if you go on one of these cruise lines where everybody has had a vaccine, you're still gonna have to wear a mask, you're still gonna social distance. It isn't gonna be that different on board. It isn't as if you get your vaccine, you go on a cruise and it's back to normal. All of the COVID procedures are still gonna be in place on all of these cruise lines. I do get a lot of comments on my YouTube channel that say, oh, well, if I'm vaccinated, I don't want to do social distancing, or if I'm social distancing, I shouldn't have to have the vaccine to go on a cruise. And I'm afraid I don't understand that logic. To me, that sounds like saying my seatbelt works, so I don't need an airbag, or the airbags of this car work, so I don't need a seatbelt. If you can be safer, that's a good thing. The cruise lines are trying to keep everybody as safe as they can, and that's good. I don't see how that can be anything other than good. So I have done it. I have booked a cruise. I've booked a cruise on board the MSC Virtuosa, and although I've had my heart broken quite a lot recently by cruises being cancelled, I'm pretty confident, happy about this one. I'm gonna try not to get too excited, but I think that's impossible. I have booked a cruise and it should go ahead. The cruise that I've booked is only a 4-night cruise and it does have 1 port, but to be honest, I just want to get on board and show you guys how a cruise works these days. The cruise does include all-inclusive drinks and it does include gratuities. The price was not crazy. It was £500 for a 4-night cruise. I have paid less than this before for a week-long MSC cruise plus flights plus hotel, but beggars can't be choosers in this situation. If I want to take a cruise, my options are MSC Cruises. Do I want to do one? Yes, I do. So I have booked one. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait just to eat a meal in the restaurant or just have a drink in a lounge or walk on a promenade deck. I can't wait. Now, of course, I do have to start planning for this cruise, and one extra thing that we've never had to plan for before is planning to get a coronavirus test within 3 days of the cruise, and then another one at the cruise port, and then on with the cruise. If you are from the UK and you're used to cruising with P&O, with Princess, with Cunard, and you're considering an MSC cruise, make sure you watch this video next. I love MSC, I've just booked them, but they're not for everybody, and they're very different from almost every other cruise line. So make sure you watch this next. A massive thank you to our Patreons who make videos like this possible. If you would like to support me, join us on Patreon. We've got all kinds of behind the scenes content, behind the scenes podcasts, Zoom calls with me, you name it, you'll find it on Patreon.